This is my DL1416SmarTerm, which is sort of a mishmash between some old technology, this 1972 Hall effect keyboard, and inside here a bunch of about 1978 to 1980 smart displays, and then some modern technology, a Teensy 3 as the brains. And it is both a computer which runs TinyBasic, and a terminal which can communicate via RS-232 to things like this Raspberry Pi that has a home-built RS-232 shield. As a good terminal, it also has a printer port and hooks to the serial to parallel interface I did with an Arduino Leonardo, which is in this HP 2225A ThinkJet printer. The keyboard was made from cut and Dremelled plastic, with the front bezel is just held on with Velcro. You can see the old keyboard mechanism. The neat thing about a Hall effect keyboard is that every key contains an IC and a magnet, and then you can see where I added a small circuit based on a PIC I had laying around to convert the parallel to serial data stream. The PIC also supports a very simple PCM bell sound. Because my terminal is all uppercase, I added a little incandescent light bulb to show when the shift key is being pressed. The display for the DL1416SmarTerm is made up of 144 4-character intelligent LED displays, each one with 17 segments. They're on 36 PC boards, 4 per. Each PC board has a PIC microprocessor which interprets a serial stream from either the USB or from a serial data line, and they pass on one board to the next. The boards all maintain their cursor position so they know when to display text. Here you can see the back of the machine. It's also just made of plastic with the electronics in the bottom section, a power supply capable of delivering about 9 amps at 5 volts for the displays, and then the Teensy on a board here with a serial out to the printer, serial in, and of course the USB to program it, as well as the keyboard data in, which is just TTL serial. I added a fan to do some cooling, but mostly I thought a machine like this ought to have a fan because they all did in the 1970s, big machines. And then at the top you can see the array of boards, each one with 4 displays, and the TTL serial coming into one and out of that to the next one. As a terminal, it can communicate at bauds up to 9600, and it supports a series of ANSI escape sequences that should make it look more or less like a VT102 terminal. If we are logged into the Pi and we set rows to 12 and calls to 48, then we can do things like edit with VI a simple file, and then I hit escape, and if I hit O, it inserts. One interesting thing is the keyboard has no control key, so you have to be very careful about using commands that require control. I often remap using some bash stuff to control key to some other key. There's a configuration menu that you can access by hitting Shift Out, and it brings up a menu that's displayed on the screen. And you can basically select different items, hit spacebar, change them. Things like line wrap, how it handles carriage return, line feed, whether flow control is on or off. This terminal definitely needs flow control. Then you hit Shift in, it stores that to the Teensy's EEPROM memory, and then reconfigures the terminal. There's also a simple FAT32 file system on an SD card, accessed through the FAT file system stuff for the Teensy, and we can list files, and then we can load a file like blink.base. And this program is the equivalent of the blink on the Arduino, and can then drive what I call the hacker port, which is 9 of the I/O signals from the Teensy brought out for you to play with. And we can also hit break, stops the program, print to the printer. And this is a very short program. I don't know if you can read it, but there it is. I've also put a filter on the DAC output of the Teensy and hope to eventually add some fun sounds, fun sound effect stuff to this machine. Because TinyBasic and the terminal program communicate via serial stream, one of the neat things we can do is change how TinyBasic communicates to the outside world. Now I can basically give it a command which tells it to open up communication with the output communication with the serial port, which is hooked to the Mac via a terminal emulator. And if I type list on the main keyboard, you can see that it listed the program on the terminal. And then if I type on TinyBasic, let's see if we can get to the prompt, I can also say in source 3, which is a bitmap, that now the terminal on the Macintosh is actually got the TinyBasic prompt, and I can give it commands like list again, and it lists there. And what's interesting and fun is that it also is listing on the main screen. This is helpful for basically editing and downloading programs on a PC or a Mac, and then uploading them via the file transfer to the computer. I don't have any sort of editing on TinyBasic right now, so it's sort of painful to create programs. I'd like to add at least a line editor eventually on it. This gives you an idea about how fast the thing can scroll. It does some optimization based on how many lines are on or how many characters are on each line at a time. And that is just a simple counting program which puts spaces, a variable number of spaces in front of every number. And this was a big thing I used to test the internal handshaking between the terminal and TinyBasic sides. Each one is running as its own thread on the Teensy. Anyway, that's my DL1416 SmarTerm. I hope you've enjoyed.